So of course, everybody has this made-up boogeyman media perception of Islam. I told my mom about it, and she's like, "You just want to date a bunch of women." I'm like, "No, that's not the case. It's not even how any of that works." My name is Will, and this is my revert story. I was born in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and my family, for the most part, is Christian. My uncle, and it's the craziest thing ever, he actually became a Muslim a year before I was born. And all throughout my life, I watched him practice being a Muslim. And I never really paid it any mind, but I was paying it attention the entire time. And that's pretty much my family dynamic. I wouldn't say I was very religious before I became a Muslim. My grandmother, who I spent a lot of summers with on the Eastern Shore, she was very much into church, and she got my sister and I into church. And from a child up until maybe my early 20s, my late teens rather, I followed Christianity. But then getting into my mid to late 20s, I kind of just let it all go. So my first year of becoming a Muslim was cloudy, I would say. I didn't know what I had gotten myself into. I felt that I had turned my back on my family and their religion and what they taught me. Like that wasn't good enough, and I'm just going to go above everybody else. But I think getting the 5 prayers daily was the most difficult part for me. And I don't want people to think that that's a difficult thing to do. It can be difficult, but the only thing hard to do is something you don't want to do. So take your time. I started with Fajr, and then I went to the noon prayer, and then I would do the evening prayer. And then all of a sudden the other 2 just fell in place as time went on. So of course, everybody has this made up boogeyman media perception of Islam. I told my mom about it, and she's like, "You just want to date a bunch of women." I'm like, "No, that's not the case. It's not even how any of that works." So that was my mom's reaction. My dad kind of ignored it. My sister was kind of happy about it because she just wanted me to follow something at that time. And my mom, over the past year and a half, has seen so many changes of peace within me. Because the past 5 years or so, I've been very angry and very quick to lash out, so to speak. But I have this anchor now where nothing really bothers me anymore. So my mom is happy about it. The misconceptions that I've encountered with saying I'm a Muslim and becoming and following Islam is people believe, number one, we don't believe in Jesus. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. And we also pray to a different God than the other Abrahamic faiths. None of that is true. Allah equates to God. Jesus is a prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. We believe in Jesus just like everybody else. Allah is God. We pray to God just like everybody else. Misconceptions done. The aspects of Islam that resonate with me the most would be the oneness of Allah. There is none worthy of worship except him. And the peace, at least for me, that it brings my spirit. When you pray 5 times a day, you'll find that you remove yourself from this world, and it's nobody but you and your creator talking. And the crazy thing is how it's set up. You go from morning to afternoon, mid-afternoon, evening to night. That's each part of your day that you get 5 minutes to yourself and to talk to your creator. And in doing that, you'll get so much peace. At least for me, that's what it was. One of my favorite messages from the Quran is, with hardship comes ease. We as human beings, it even says in the Quran, we are going to deal with anxiety. And the only way to get around that is to, I think, pray your 5 prayers every day and get a relationship with Allah and become closer to Allah, because you're designed as a human being to have anxiety. And that verse from the Quran, with hardship comes ease, has made my life so much more comforting and peaceful. Some fears that I think that people, or fears or misconceptions that people have when it comes to becoming Muslim or learning anything about Islam, I think that America and the West has demonized Islam so much that we reject it. When you see a woman in her hijab, it's like, oh, she's oppressed. That's the furthest thing from the truth. You don't drink alcohol. Why don't you drink alcohol? God says not to drink alcohol. Everything bad that happens, most of the time it's because of alcohol. It's behind alcohol. There are a lot of rules and a lot of, I don't want to call them rules. It's just guidelines that God has given us to follow, and it will make your life better. But I think that the most difficult thing for people to understand when it comes to being a Muslim is you have to give up a lot, but you're gaining way more than what you're giving up. And I think that those are the things, the worldly life, people aren't really ready to give those things up in order to gain 100,000 times more life. What about Islam brought me peace? One, coming to this building. That's number one. Last summer, I started to come here every night to pray. I started to come to Juma every Friday and reading the Quran more and learning the guidelines of what I was supposed to follow. When I began to remove certain things from my life, I noticed that a weight just began to come off my shoulders, so to speak. And again, going back to making salah 5 times a day, the self-reflecting that I do daily, and driving while talking to myself. I know that's crazy, but I'm not crazy. I talk to myself as I'm driving, and I get this peace from just having conversations with God, and praying 5 times a day is nothing like it. If I could call my mom and ask her, she would tell you I'm a different person in the past 2 years.
The change has come with the toning down of aggression. He's more patient, more willing to listen, and it's just been a great experience to see him just come down from that high horse of not listening, and that anger, that love of anger is gone. So it's just a totally different person.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Love you. My advice for anyone thinking of following the fold of Islam, first I want to say Islam is the submission to God. A Muslim is a person who submits his will to God. We're all Muslim. I'm just going to put that out there. So if you are thinking of actually taking your Shahada and becoming a Muslim, I think the first thing you should do is just start to read the Quran. I don't think it will touch you until you actually take your Shahada, but I'm sure you'll find something in it that will make you want to take the step forward. And I think that if you just go talk to an actual Muslim person that follows the deen, instead of listening to the media, you'll see things through a different light. So read the Quran and go find an actual Muslim to talk to.